Okay, so I thought I'd do a little video here on how I make these little brass hinges I'm using for the working cab doors on my shay. So what I've got here is I've got just a small scrap piece of 5/1000 brass. I'm just going to take the scissors and I'm just going to cut off a small strip of it here. And this strip is, take a quick measurement of it here. About 0.04 wide. And I've got a piece of 20,000 steel wire here. And so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make a bend, 90-degree bend. So I'm just going to take this, I have this flat jawed pliers here that I've ground a little angle on the one edge of it here, so it's easier to make 90-degree bends. And so I'm just going to bend that up. Doesn't have to be perfect. And then I'm going to lay it here on the workbench. And lay the steel wire across it. Kind of hold the whole thing down here. And then I'm just going to take a regular flat bladed screwdriver and I'm just going to push it. See if I can get that so you can see what I'm doing here. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to push it, push that bent over tab all the way down against the strip. So I'm basically just folding it over the brass. And then what I do is I take the pliers, or the screwdriver, and I go straight down right behind the wire and push all the way down to the table. So what that does is that gives you the hinge with the flat back, and then the top will roll over and then it comes straight back on the it's probably really hard to see, but so you kind of see how the hinge has that flat back. Then I take the wire out and I'm going to grab it with my pliers again, not all the way tight to the loop we just bent, but a little bit back, not too much back though, because we're trying to support it here. And then I'm going to take a Dremel cutoff disc and I'm going to cut a slot in this first one right in the middle. Keep the speed high on the Dremel and very lightly touch it. If you go in with it either too slow, or with the disc too slow, or you go too fast cutting it, you'll end up just bending the hinge all out of shape. Now the end of this steel wire I've sharpened to a kind of a spear point, so I can push it back through the hole I made there and get kind of the burrs out of the inside of there. So it should slide back through there again. And now I'm just going to slide the pliers up and just tighten it all back up again in case it opened up. So now it's all tight. Pull that back out. And I'm just going to take a flat file and just clean off just lightly go over the outside to clean off any burrs. Okay, you can see I didn't quite get in that slot clean enough on this one side, so I'm going to hit it again. Okay, so there's the first part of the hinge, you can see that. Now I'm going to do the exact same thing for the second half of the hinge. Just going to bend this up. Lay it on the bench, lay the wire across it. Bend it back over itself. Push straight down. Pull the wire out. Grab it with the pliers. Now this time, I'm going to, instead of grinding a slot, I'm going to take a little off of each side. And this will be the piece of the hinge, so there'll be the three, there'll be the outer one, and the inner one on this side, and the outer one again. Now I'm just using a square file, and I'm just going to clean up my edges a little bit. A few light passes. Take the flat file, just go around the hinge a little bit, just real lightly. Stick the wire through there with the sharpened point. There you go. Now all we have to do is cut these free of the brass. And then, so now I've got these two pieces here. There's the first piece is right here, and then here's the second piece. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to check their fit to make sure that they fit together, and they look like they do. And I'm not going to put them together and try to solder them on. You'll end up soldering them shut. So I'm going to solder one half of this piece to the door, and then this other half is going to get soldered to the cab. Now you have to be really careful when you solder these two. What I do is I tin the back side of each piece, and then solder them. I solder the two to the door, and then I run the wire up and assemble the hinges, and I hold these to the back of the cab, and then I try to only solder this back edge here, and you got to get off it really quick with the heat, because the solder will flow into the hinge. So that's how I make those hinges.